Well, first of all, I am very grateful that people are still looking at the Nevers reviews. Apologies for not getting back to them for a while, but I will try to finish them off and do a few more things on the Nevers because I do appreciate what Joss was trying to do. And it's a fascinating show unto itself. But let's get right to the episodes, no spoilers. And I have to be saying very honestly that it was, they weren't bad, but they were very disappointing. If you've seen the other reviews, I've noted that Joss keeps building these cliffhangers in some of the episodes, and I didn't mind that the cliffhangers did not go where I thought they would go. I thought it was fine that they veered off into very interesting, quirky directions, but I gotta be honest, with this episode and the next episode, I was a little bit bored. It just seemed we're meandering, we're wandering. I will say with one character, that was fine. In fact, that was actually a very high point. Seeing her, that character, meander and wander and take a few quiet moments with her was actually very interesting. That was very powerful. And they give away very early who that is. It's not going to be much of a spoiler, but if you see even the beginning of the episode, you'll know who I'm talking about. Like, oh, interesting. The problem is when they focus on the other characters, it starts to lose a lot of momentum really quickly because there's nothing there to get back to. The cliffhanger really was with two major characters, and okay, they follow up with those two major characters, but that's what the cliffhanger was about. So just getting more world building with the other characters was interesting, and I kind of suspect where they're going and how this is cleverly getting to the X-Men. But that's kind of the key problem here, is that all these episodes were building up basically to the beginning of the X-Men. This is really a preface to the real story. So maybe these are all interesting setups for the real story next season. But with this season, all we're really getting is the background details to get to the real story. The story we've had so far had one major interesting twist, but it's setting up something else. But now that, at this point, the Nevers is postponed indefinitely, so we're kind of left in a big gap. Like, well, what is the story? We don't quite know. They set up a lot of interesting things, but now we don't know where they're going to go. It's a little frustrating that they should have had more of a complete story this season. There was a lot of development with a few characters. That's really good. So the things I did like were Mundi. That stood out. He's always pretty rock solid in all these episodes. And some of the other characters like the Beggar King. Okay, more good stuff with them. Again, overall, we're not really seeing even a good ensemble cast at work. We're seeing a few major characters being highlighted, a few minor characters being highlighted, and the beginnings of a really interesting story. But we just scratched the surface. So I'm going to have to give both episodes a fairly critical 6.5. I would recommend them, but they're a bit of a sludge to work through.